Hey, this is going to be a quick video on how to collect deposits and reduce the number of cancellations in your detailing business. And as you can see here from the screenshot, this is one of my clients, Service Detail USA. Took a screenshot of their CRM. Initially, this was like $8,900 in jobs booked over a course of 3 weeks. They have been booking more jobs recently, so they updated. But I just want to tell you guys a quick story with these guys. They're an absolute, like, they're killers on the phone. They're sales machines. They don't have any trouble booking in jobs left and right. But transparently, there's a few jobs on the back end that are canceling, that are leading to missed revenue, etc. So why is this particular topic important? Well, cancellations are going to happen from time to time. It's just a natural part of business. However, this is especially important if you're running paid ads and booking jobs from those ads, because with paid ad leads, they're going to be way colder than someone that might have found you through either like word of mouth referral or an organic Google search. They're just searching for ceramic coating installers in their city. And because of that, since they're way colder and you're actually doing a little bit more work on your end, convincing them on the process, on booking in with you, etc., they're going to be a lot more likely to get cold feet, change their minds, and cancel the job ahead of time. And these cancellations, it's going to be a waste of time because you have to spend the time, talking to the lead on the phone, calling them up, booking them in, etc. It's a waste of money, right? You have to spend money on equipment, chemicals, and also the cost per acquisition, meaning the dollar amount you spent on the ads to acquire that lead in that job, and also the opportunity cost. So if you're booked out like 3-4 weeks in advance and they're taking that spot in that calendar and then they end up canceling, well, that spot could have gone to someone else who is actually serious about booking in with you and actually completing that job. So a great way to prevent cancellations, aside from a bunch of other stuff like booking them in as soon as possible, having a really good follow-up sequence after they've already booked, sending them your Google reviews, etc., is to collect the deposit and secure some sort of financial commitment from them at the end of the call, ahead of time for the job. And another use case for deposits as well is when you run to objections. So for instance, logistical objections, spouse partner objections, financial objections. This way you can still get some level of tie down and commitment that they're actually serious about booking in the job, and then follow back up later. For instance, if they are waiting for their car in 2 weeks, you can still arrange a tentative date, get some small deposit, and then reach back out ahead of time, like a few days ahead of the actual job, and see if that date is still good for them, right? So this skill of being able to collect deposits and navigate that sort of process in your business is going to be a very, very handy arsenal tool in your whatever toolkit, arsenal, pocket. You know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, some of the common pitfalls when it comes to collecting deposits. So number one would be, and again, everyone has their own philosophy, their own approach to business, to sales, etc. But in my experience and what I've seen work well for my clients is I would probably recommend avoiding pushy sales tactics. So for instance, a pushy sales tactic would be something like, if you don't pay this deposit, we can't offer you the same price next month. This price is only good for this month. And if you don't pay this deposit, then next month it might not still be around, right? And the reason for that is, let's say that number one, it introduces a lot of friction, right? It's going to introduce a lot of sales resistance. All of a sudden the lead, their guard is up and they feel like you're trying to sell them. So even if, let's say they do book in for next month, but you aren't able to collect that deposit, well, because of all that friction that's introduced, they don't really feel comfortable with you, and there's a high likelihood that they might cancel the job. Another thing too is, let's say this is a new process in your business. It's not like super well-oiled process. You can always start small and then kind of work your way up from there. For instance, there are some detailers that they'll collect 20% of the job, maybe even as high as 30% of the job as a deposit before actually booking someone in. There's some detailers that will collect $100, $50 deposit, etc. But if it's your first time collecting deposits and you're trying to collect $100 deposits, you're kind of struggling with that, you're not having much success, I would just maybe start smaller and then kind of work your way up from there. So for instance, I might start by collecting, even just like a small $10 deposit or like a $20 deposit. And then once you're having success with that, then move up to a $50 deposit. Then once you're having success with that, then move up to a $100 deposit. But if you start off with a $100 deposit right off the bat and that's what you're gunning for, and it's not working out, people are not comfortable sending you $100 over the phone before doing the job first, then I might just start small and then kind of work your way up and see what price points for deposits are working well inside your business, are working well inside your sales process. And for the actual framework on how to approach this, the way I would approach this is, let's say you're taking them through the whole process on the phone. So a little bit of discovery, the pitch, so explaining the coding process, I would then tie them down on 100% certainty that, hey, this is what they're looking for. They don't have any concerns. They're actually serious about getting this done for their car. Then I would book them in for a date and time. So I would get them to confirm yes to that date and time. And then after they've gotten that yes, right, they've already booked in the calendar, then I would collect the deposit, because there are some detailers that are afraid collecting deposits, it might reduce the booking rate, right? The way I would do it is book them first, then deposit after. So once you've also booked them in and then collecting the deposit, I'd also add one small step in between there. So I'd also ask for some level of compliance or get some level of micro commitment from them before going for the deposit. For instance, instead of just straight away asking, how do you want to pay typically we do deposits, how do you want to pay it? I'd first say, hey, typically we do deposits for XYZ reason, right? Giving them a reason to increase compliance, right? Because when you give humans a reason, let's say you're trying to cut in line and, you're trying to cut in line for the printer. I need to cut in line because XYZ reason. As long as you give an XYZ reason, statistically it's shown that humans are more likely to comply. So give them the reason as to why you need the deposit. Get them to get a micro commitment, so get them to say yes, and then go for the deposit. So yeah, the reason is it cool if we do, so typically like the way we do it is we'll just do like a really small $20 deposit over the phone, just to lock in your spot. The reason we do that is, we have to drop all this money ahead of time on chemicals, equipment, materials, etc. So we just want to make sure that we're really good for the state. And then from there, we can do the rest of the payment on the actual day of. Is that fair with you? So get them to say yes. Then once you get that final yes, that micro commitment from them, then you go for the deposit after that. And you're going to notice a much higher compliance rate. And then if they push back and they still say no, you can be flexible as well. You can choose not to take the deposit. That way you don't lose the booking. Although, of course, if someone's not willing to put down even a $20 deposit, there's a high chance that they're probably not going to show up because they're not that serious, okay? So here's an example script of how I might do it if I were you guys, and feel free to take this and innovate on this framework on your own, okay? So let's say here in the script, you've gone through the whole sales process, you've gone through discovery, the pitch. What I would do here is I'd probably add in like a tie down. So great, and does this kind of align with what you're looking for in terms of restoring your car to that showroom shine, get that glossy finish you mentioned? Okay, great. Which part of the process do you feel like specifically would be the most helpful, or were you most interested in, right? And then, or which aspects of the coding process would you feel like would be the most helpful for your car, right? Get them to, tell you a little bit about what they liked based on your pitch. And awesome. Well, it looks like we have this opening and this opening on the calendar. What date works best for you? Okay, great. So, yeah, super excited to see you on XYZ date to restore your car to that showroom shine you mentioned you wanted. And typically to secure your spot, we'll just do like a really small $20 deposit over their phone. That way we can go out and buy all the chemicals, equipment, etc. ahead of time and make sure we set aside the whole day for you and your car. And then we'll kind of just knock out the rest of the payment the day of, after the job is actually done. Would that be fair with you? Or another way of saying it is, would that be all right with you? Okay, great. In that case, what kind of works best for you to take care of the deposit? We can do Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, credit card. What would work best for you? Okay. And then sometimes people might ask again, another reason, they might ask for reconfirmation, like why deposit is needed, or they might give you a pushback. Just keep in mind, this can A, be an objection, or B, sometimes people are just like genuinely curious why deposit is needed. So just answer the question. So I say, oh, no worries. Totally understand, if you're not 100% comfortable with a deposit. And it's kind of because, like you mentioned, we set aside a whole day to do the job. We have to purchase a bunch of prep materials ahead of time as well. We have employees, we have overhead. So it's really just to make sure that A, we're good for that date and secure your spot, and that you're 100% serious about doing this for your car. And B, on your end too, you'll be able to lock in that, that pricing that we mentioned on the ad, plus that free windshield coating that we're running as well these days. Would that be okay with you? And that's kind of the framework I would take. And then from there, if they still push back, it's kind of up to you, right? There are some detailers that will hold their ground. Absolutely, there's no way you can book in without doing a deposit, so they'll push back again. Or you can give in and let them book in without doing a deposit. But if that's the case, I would still 100% make sure that you tie them down, that they're really serious about getting this done. So I might say something like, no worries at all. Like I mentioned, we do have to drop a few $100s ahead of time on equipment and labor. And, sometimes people can be kind of inconsiderate and just, really cancel last minute. It creates a huge hassle for us, for the business, etc. And look, I'm sure you're not one of those types of people. So if you're not comfortable with the deposit, I mean, that's fine. We can still book it in for that date. But I just want to make sure, like, you're 100% good for this date and time. Like, you're serious about getting this done for your car. Is that right? If they say yes, then I would still book them in. So that way, even if you're not getting a deposit, you're doing two things. Number one, you're tying them down that, hey, like, you're 100%. And I would really emphasize that 100%, like, you're 100% good for this date and time, right? And you're 100% serious about getting this done. Because if you emphasize that 100%, if there's any certainty or like uncertainty lingering in their mind, they might say, well, not necessarily 100%, right? And by calling out 100% like this, like using that sort of absolute language, it's going to be able to call out and draw any uncertainty in them when they're, booking in for that date and time. The other thing you're doing as well is you're calling out a certain type of archetype, right? A certain type of people that, inconsiderate people, like people, the type of people that cancel a job and they cancel last minute, they're the inconsiderate type of person. And I'm sure you're not one of those types of people. So you're kind of associating them with being the opposite of this negative identity. So in their mind, they think that if they cancel, they're actually one of those inconsiderate types of people. And you're telling them that they're not one of those types of people. So they're associating themselves with this positive identity of not being the type of person that's going to be inconsiderate and cancel last minute. So hope this video was valuable, guys, when it comes to collecting deposits, reducing cancellations, tying down that actual booking at the end of the phone conversation. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions.